Alright, let's get back to the beginner's guide for everybody out there so that we can finish this up and telling the peoples on the character in which I picked out of all the ideas that we had out there. You know, we had people talking about doing bone necros, fireclaw druids, barbarians, or, you know, even shape-shifting barbarians. And the one that I chose is one that you don't have to have a whole lot of godly gear for, one that's easy on the synergies, and one that is just plain fun to play. And Billy Bob 3430 decided that he was going to try to build a similar character as this one, and he loves it. So for all of you out there, the character that I'm going to build for you, or have built for you, is an orb source. I really can't remember the last time that I actually built an orb source, and this one is sort of a hybrid of types. I'm doing orb and I'm doing chain lightning on this one for the immunities out there in Diablo 2, especially in hell level. And with the good merc, if you have some that are immune to magic, he can really help back you up as well. So let's go to the rogue encampment and check this one out, and keep in mind that the reason why I picked this character are for all the questions rolled up into one. Good starter character to get on Diablo 2, one that's good for magic finding, where to do the magic finding, which I'll show you a couple of good places for that, and one that doesn't really require a whole lot of godly gear. Alright, so with all those things in mind, that's the reason why I picked the orb source. Alright, so let's go to the rogue encampment and check it out. Alright everybody, so here we are in the rogue encampment, and I'm fixing to show you the sorceress that I picked, or the character that I picked, which happens to be the orb source. And let's start off by going over the skill points, as we always do. And we're going to start off by showing you the cold skills, because that's her primary max out, and what kind of sorceress that I wanted her to be. Now, in order to be an orb source, you have to get down to level 30, or get up to level 30, down here in the bottom left corner. Now, to get down to this, you start off with Ice Bolt, and you can put a couple of points in there as you're leveling up, but save back your points. And I'll get to the point spending here in just a moment, because there seems to be this big what to do about, oh, what am I going to do with my points? Oh, I got a point, I got a point. We'll get to that in just a minute. So anyway, to get down to orb, you do 1 in Ice Bolt, 1 in Ice Blast, 1 in Glacial Spike, come over and do 1 in Frost Nova, 1 in Blizzard, and then eventually get down to Frozen Orb once you hit level 30. Now, the 3 that you max out on this one, eventually once you get up to that level to where you can, is Frozen Orb, Ice Bolt, and Cold Mastery, okay, for obvious reasons. Now, Cold Mastery is key as far as making your attack go way up, and then the 2% that you get off of the Ice Bolt once you max that synergy may not seem like a whole lot, but as you see the damage points keep on climbing and climbing, you'll actually see where it does make sense to do it. Now, as I stated in the beginning of the video, this sorceress is kind of a hybrid of sorts, and you could go cold fire, which I see a lot of that, but me, I decided to go with chain lightning. Now, while we're in the lightning area here, you'll see that most of mine are lit up, okay? I put 1 in charge bolt, 1 in lightning, and 1 in chain lightning to start off with. Eventually, I got myself up to a level 30, and I will, as I level up more, max out chain lightning, I believe, or put a couple more points in lightning mastery due to the percentage. Now, the damage between the two, I really haven't added it up to see what I'm going to do, but that's what I started off with as far as the hybrid part. I did put, I believe, 3 points in lightning mastery just for the percentage. As you see right there, currently it gives me 206% damage added onto it, and strangely enough, my chain lightning damage is a little bit more on the high end than my cold damage is on Frozen Orb, but Frozen Orb has more spikes that go out, and per damage per hit, that's what really helps on an orb source. Now, while we're in here, let me show you the other ones that, in my opinion, are key in building any sorceress, no matter what source it is. Alright, of course, I always put 1 in static field just for what it does. It weakens your enemy by 25%, and that is like instant life gone, okay? You know, you just step up on them, as long as you're within the range. This one right here is a 10-yard radius. That's without a bow, that's just base. It just takes their life away. And you can do that a couple of times to them, teleport back or walk back, throw your cast attack on them, and there you go. It really helps take down a boss or your enemies quickly. And it's not just a single attack. it'll take down, if you got 20 people that's surrounding you and you hit static, it's going to static all of them. Alright, now another one is telekinesis, just for what it does. You could use the power of the mind to pick up items. Now the items, such as potions, you could pick up gold, but like armor and such, you can't pick it up with this. Alright, so just get over that part. But that's just why I use that. And you can also stand back and, like if you have a lot of trap barrels or whatever, you can blow up barrels and it'll actually knock enemies back. If you telekinesis onto a boss or something that you want to keep them back, you can scroll to it if you have it in your scroll option or your hotkeys and hit a boss with it and it'll knock them back so you can get the heck out of the way. And another point that I spend in here is teleport. And I just put 1 point in that because after you get geared up in all your skills, 11 is plenty on that. Now, some people do put more, and that's fine. Go for it. I always just put 1 point in it. And the last one in the lightning is energy shield, just for what it does. It creates a magical shield that consumes mana instead of life when you take damage. Now, there are certain attacks that will take a little bit of both. It'll take a chunk here and a chunk here out of your mana and your life, but that's just something you got to get over. But primarily, it will take your mana away instead of your life first. And I don't know about you, but getting killed off of life whenever I can just pop a mana pot and get my mana back easily enough, and with a good merc, it'll build up quickly. I'd much rather take damage to my mana than I would my life. Get it? Got it? Good. Alright, so there you go on the skill points as far as cold and lightning. And you could pause it and see and do all the things that you can, back up the video, whatever, and watch them. Now, another one that I always put a point in is warmth, which increases the rate at which you recover your mana. Now, I know a lot of people put a couple of points in this, and that's fine too. But me, I figure like this. With all the gear that you have and everything that you got going on, 1 point is plenty, because that takes my rate of recovery on mana to 162%. And if you have a couple of skill GCs, which I'm still working on this particular character, you can get faster hit recovery, even in small charms. I mean, heck, but grand charms, maybe a skill hit recovery grand charm is one that most sorceresses go for, either that or lifer GCs, skill lifers, and whatever. The combination is endless, really. And as far as her stats go, let's go over this. Now, this is where a lot of people have disagreements. I noticed a lot of people have been reading up on forums, reading user guides, build guides, or whatever, that say that a sorceress should not have above 40 strength and 40 dexterity, and put some into energy and the rest into life and this, that, and the other. Do it the way you want to do it. The way that I like to do it, just due to the fact that I'm not doing any strength glitches on this character, is I took my strength to 50 and my dexterity to 50, and then my vitality consumed the rest of it. And as usual, me personally, I don't put any in mana, because once you get a good merc and once you get your gear up and your skills and everything else, that really doesn't matter to have any in energy. Alright, especially if you keep a row of mana pots in your belt. Alright, so 50 in strength, 50 in dex, which took me in magic with all the gear to 96 and 124, and I put the rest in life. Now, I do have 48 stat points to spend, and that's due to the fact that I am going to experiment with a couple of other pieces of gear here in the future. Alright, so that's one thing that I want to touch on before I forget, after I get done with this, before we move on to the gear or stat points and skill points. Alright, so let's finish this up. Now, my resistances still have a little work to do, but they're not bad. I have 63 in fire, 59 in cold, maxed out at 75 right now in lightning, and 24 in poison. Really need to work on that poison, because that's what really gets me right now. Alright, but the life that I have, which is with the 335, the base life on it without a bow is 1201, which is pretty good. Alright, you can bust up into a bail run and not have to worry about getting smoked on the first hit. Alright, now on my damages, let me close out of here. That's not what I meant to do. Close out of here, let's pick lightning and pick orb. Now my orb damage, the high end is 686 right now. That's without a bow and the current gear that she's wearing. And my chain lightning is 1477 on the high end. Also with the same without a bow and with the gear that she's wearing. Now this can get a lot better, so don't even worry about that. But this character here will be able to take on pretty much any boss as long as you take your time, be methodical about it, and remember that she's a caster, not a melee. Alright, you can build melee sources, but that's not what this is about. Alright, so there's the end of part 1 of the part 4 in the beginner's guide. And after we finish part 5, I don't know if I'll end up telling you this, that's why I'm putting it in right now. We'll go into some advanced features of the game for all you people out there getting into D2. And even a lot of the advanced players don't know the options in which I'm going to list. If you do, oh well, this is for the people out there just getting their feet wet playing D2. Guntoad and I came up with a pretty good list of things that will make your gameplay even more enjoyable, so stick around for that here at Craft Chest.